What's up, boxing heads? We're going to talk real quick about one of my favorite debates in boxing, which is about mitt or pad work. So most of you guys have all seen different boxers do the mitts or do the pads, as some call it, in training camp and in the gym. Of course, you've all seen Floyd Mayweather and his uncle Roger do their fancy mitt work, and there's been a lot of conversation about just how valuable that type of mitt work is. We're not going to get into all that, but what I am going to do is get into some mitt work that, in my opinion, is some of the best mitt work that you will see in boxing. And it's because it is perfecting a skill that very few boxers, even at the professional level, really have. And that is mastering the technique of making sure that your feet, your hands, and your distance are perfectly in sync. Right? So everyone always says about Errol Spence, oh, he's always on balance. He's always in position to strike. They have similar comments with Golovkin, who also does a very similar mitt work as Errol Spence does with Derrick James. But there's a reason for that, right? That didn't happen by accident. Errol has trained to be able to always fight in a manner where he is always in position to strike. And this mitt work is going to give you a great example of that, because so many fighters do mitts in the gym and you don't see the way that they throw their punches in the mitts translate into the fight, because many times the way that they train with mitts doesn't really replicate what happens in a fight. But let's look at this mitt work, right? Notice Derrick James, who is Errol's trainer, who in my opinion, by the way, is probably one of the best, if not the best trainer in the game right now. But notice that he's moving, right? So he's forcing Errol to move with him. He's making him step back right there, right? He's making him move to his left. He's making him cut off the ring. And he's making him throw punches as he moves, right? He's throwing punches as he moves. He's calling for punches as Errol moves, okay? Now, he also making him react to defense, right? Don't get sloppy when you come forward. People might be throwing punches at you. They may be trying to set you up. So he's also making him be mindful of his defense. But notice, again, they're not throwing hard shots. They're not throwing fast shots. He's not trying to kill the pads. That's because that's not what this is about for them. This is about making sure that Errol's balance and positioning are always in sync. Making sure that his hands, his feet, and his distance are always on point, right? Notice how Errol is always mindful of his spacing. Every one of these punches that Errol lands at the optimal distance to get the maximum power. They land at the end of the shot, right? He's looking at him step back. He's stepping back as the punches are flying, right? Derrick James is forcing him to throw punches as he's moving forward and back, and making him react defensively. And by the way, you can tell that Errol doesn't really truly know all of the shots that Derrick is going to call, right? So he has to react to it in real time. This is perfect training for professional level boxing. And by the way, there are many, in fact, I would say most professional boxers have not mastered keeping their feet, hands, and distance in perfect harmony. Very few boxers have actually been able to master that. Errol Spence is one of them. And this mitt work is probably a big reason why he has. So keep watching. Okay, he's forcing Spence to go back, come forward. Again, 1 or 2 shots at a time. It's not about letting 5, 6 punch combinations go. It's all about maintaining positioning and balance. Being able to throw punches off of any movement. Anytime you're stepping forward and moving back, if you can throw punches while you're doing that, that is some serious skill. And very few fighters can do that. Most fighters have to be set to throw punches. Or most fighters move in a way where they lose their stance or their positioning to throw properly technique punches. But look, Errol's always on balance. He's always ready to fire. Perfect technique, perfect positioning, because his feet, hands, and distance are always perfectly in sync. And the great thing about fighting like this, folks, is you don't got to use a lot of energy. He doesn't have to be bouncing all the time and slipping a bunch of punches and doing a lot of extra movements that pretty much just burn you out and tire you out. He ain't got to do all that, because he's always in position to defend himself and strike. And it's just all about subtle movements and keeping your feet, hands, and distance perfectly in sync. It's beautiful work, you see it, but it's not fancy. It's not flashy, right? It's not the kind of thing that, you know, a lot of times in the Mayweather era, people kind of come to expect with Mitt work. But look at it. He's forcing to go back. Notice how, as Errol went back, he still had to maintain that positioning. How many times do you see fighters, when it's time to let their hands go and attack, they go in too close to smother their punches? Now, how often have you seen Errol Spence smother his punches? Almost never. This is probably why. He's always in position to defend and strike. Look at this. It don't matter where James moves. Errol is always in position to fire. Always. And some of you guys may be looking at this saying, wow, you know, that looks so simple, so easy. He's just walking and punching. Look, go get your gym bag. Go get you some shorts. Go get you some sneakers. Hopefully you got some gloves and some wraps. Put those in the bag. Get in your car. Put the key in the ignition. Drive to your local boxing gym. Show them this video and say, look, I want to do some mitts just like Errol is doing in this video. Try that shit and tell me how easy it is. You're going to be falling all over your feet. You're going to be leaning in. Your head is going to be 2 feet above or past your front knee, leaning forward, falling back, running to get to the mitts. It is so much harder than he makes it look. And it's crazy because there's boxers that have been boxing for years that can't do it with this level of precision and balance. That tells you how hard it is. So keep in mind, fighters, you know, it's not always about looking flashy on the mitts. It's all about the fundamentals. And it doesn't get no more fundamental in boxing than mastering how you move your feet and how that stays in sync with your hands and maintaining proper distance. Peace.